Are you feeling overscheduled, overcommitted, and overwhelmed? Are you feeling like you are completely dictated by everything going on outside of you rather than actually having a sense of control of how your day, your week, your month, and your year goes and feels? If so, I have such an incredible resource for you in this episode. In this episode, I'm going to help you see clearly why your life is feeling this way. I'm going to give you all the resources that you need in order to create and lock in a new sense of control in your life. And as an extra bonus, we are going to do this together as a community in my free 31-day challenge. In our lives, we currently feel so distracted by everything that's going on around us. Our to-do list, our emails, traffic, every single thing on the outside of us controls how we feel and how we show up in our day. The truth is that we all need and crave a sense of control in our lives because control gives us certainty. Certainty helps us feel safe. The reality is that we have lost control of what we use to feel a sense of control. Stay with me. We put so much power in these external anchors that we have created for ourselves. What do I mean by that? These external circumstances that we use to feel a sense of control. So, for instance, we might not know how our work meeting is going to go, but we know that when we grab that certain cup of coffee that we always grab on the way to work, that we are going to feel a sense of certainty and control. We might not know how evening's going to go with dinner and homework and the kids, but we know that we can grab that glass of wine and perhaps take the edge off. All these things put a lot of power into these external devices that we're using to impact our internal sense of self and being. What we're going to do in this episode is I'm going to help you understand the power of creating what I like to call internal anchors. You're going to know exactly how to create them for yourself. This is going to be something that you are going to tap into every single day, no matter what's going on in your life. You will have easy access to these internal anchors so that you can instantly feel more grounded, certain, safe, balanced, and secure in your life. This becomes really, really important, especially during any time in our life when there's a major shift in our routine, which typically is something that keeps us grounded, right? So whether it's like your morning workout, your morning coffee, what you do every single night at the end of the night, if there's a shift in our routine from something like a job change or like kids' school schedules changing, we're going on vacation, etc., these internal anchors become even more important because everything on the outside of us, everything externally has changed. I will say, if we are doing something like traveling for vacation or something fun and enjoyable, I don't know if you've experienced this, but it's like day 1 or 2, everyone's on a high because you're on vacation, it's different, it's fun. And then what tends to happen is the lack of routine, the lack of stability and certainty starts to shake us at the core, and the vacation can no longer feel like a vacation in some cases. These internal anchors are the key things that we can do no matter where we are, no matter what we have going on, that is going to give us that certainty in our lives that is going to look like to the outside world and feel to ourselves as more balanced, calm, and joy in our life. Who wouldn't want that? Okay, so you ready? So I want to actually start by sharing a bit of a personal story. So as an empath, and I think many women listening to this episode can relate to this, I had allowed myself to be so dictated by anyone and everything outside of me, whether it was situations, circumstances, or emotions. So as a busy chiropractor with a full load of patients, managing 20 plus staff and coming home to our 3 children, I completely lost myself. What I know now is that emotional disarray and disorganization is what led to part of my major health challenge that I had. Now, I've shared that health struggle in other videos. I'll link them below. But basically, what I learned from that experience is that I needed to create these, what I call internal anchors, so that no matter what was going on around me, I wasn't taking on other people's emotions, stress, or energy. I could become so rooted in my body and in my presence that wouldn't shake me. Now, maybe that's not a story that necessarily resonates with you, but how about something like this? Do you ever notice that there's times when perhaps you're on your way to work or an event, et cetera, whatever it is, and you hit traffic and the traffic drives you insane? And then there's other times where it doesn't. Or have you ever noticed that, maybe it's that person at work that's just always a little bit like triggering, and sometimes they bother you and sometimes they don't. Or if you have children, maybe sometimes if they're having, a meltdown or they're very emotionally needy, maybe they're experiencing some really heavy stuff throughout the day. That do you ever notice the difference in when you have the capacity to show up for them the way that you would want to versus when you're burnout and fried and you don't? The key and the difference here is in your internal state. And again, in this episode, what I'm going to teach you is how to control that by creating and grounding to these internal anchors. Now, what I really want you to start to understand, because especially as women, we can be so influenced by everyone else's needs, that this is not something that is just for you in case you need to leverage it this way, that this is literally going to impact every single person around you. Let me ask you a question to drive that home. Think about how you are to everyone around you when you're feeling burnout, fried, overwhelmed, and just completely done. How do you show up at work? How do you show up for your family? On the flip side of that, when you feel connected, when you feel balanced, when you feel joyful, and you walk into your house at the end of a long day, how do you show up for the people there? It's night and day. And in this episode, you are literally going to have the tools that help you decide which way you want to show up. This is so incredibly powerful. So because this is something that's going to positively impact literally every single person around you, I really want you to understand that taking this time for yourself is not selfish. Women, we need to stop feeling like we're supposed to be selfless in order to help others. Just think about that word selfless. It's like you've completely lost touch with yourself. And that's a good thing. Like, boop, let's ditch that phrase. This is about being self-with. This is about having chaos around you and being able to simply tune in and connect to these internal anchors. There's this quote I once heard, and I love it. Anyone can do yoga on a beach. Anyone can feel peaceful and grounded when they're standing on a mountaintop looking at a beautiful scene. But can you take time every single day to connect with yourself so that no matter what is going around you, you can achieve that state of balance at any time? That, to me, ladies, that is what this is all about. That is what these tools will help you do. We cannot control the outside world. We can only control us. And when we can take time to nurture and feed and develop this internal anchor, there is nothing that will shake us. Okay, so now that you understand why this is so important and powerful, and you know that you're all in and you're gonna do this because it's gonna change your life, I wanna give you an overview of what we're actually gonna do here. So creating our internal anchor is literally about spending time with ourselves. Remember a minute ago, I said this is about being self-with. So this is gonna be about taking intentional moments in the morning and literally sitting with ourselves, listening to ourselves, tuning in to ourselves. I know you have a bazillion thoughts all throughout the day. I know if you tune in and listen, there's an inner dialogue constantly chattering in your ear. This is what we're going to tune into during the first part of this exercise that I'm going to walk you through the 31-day challenge. What is so important about this part of the process, being with ourselves, listening to this inner dialogue, is we're going to start to give it a channel. What happens is with all this dialogue that we have throughout the day, whether it's like, okay, I got to go here, then I got to do this, then I got to do this to-do list, these errands, these future thoughts or past thoughts, guilting, shaming ourselves, all that chatter that goes on all day, those are the outside thoughts. We want to get beyond those into our inner core because this is where the wisdom, the clarity, the intuition sits. This is where our seat of groundedness, this is where our internal anchor lives. So I want to give you an analogy. Have you ever seen one of those rocks with the crystals inside? So they're usually at gift shops, museums. If you have children, maybe they've gotten one as a gift or an activity. So when you look at these rocks on the outside, all you see is like this beat up old rock. There's nothing special about it. And you have no idea that there's this beautiful, clairvoyant, light, bright, beautiful crystal on the inside. It's not until you smash the rock with a hammer that you can actually get to the inner core where all the beauty is. So I want you to see yourself as one of these rocks. And of course, you're way more beautiful on the outside, even to begin with. We are going to get through this outer chatter, this outer dialogue that we've always had, and we're going to get to our inner beauty, clarity, and intuition, and our internal anchor. What's going to happen is as this state becomes more familiar, as we can get to this internal anchor, we're going to practice it often. It's going to become so familiar so that if we're at party, if there's tons of emotions swirling around us, if stuff is crazy at work, zoop, we can instantly access this inner anchor, this inner connection, this balance, this sense of control, and this ease in our life. Oh my God, who wouldn't want this? Okay, so this is going to be literally a two-step process. All of this is going to be below. It's in my free challenge. Listen to this whole episode first and then click on, because there is so much important information, and that'll be waiting for you at the end. So don't click it just yet. I want you to listen to the overview of how this process is actually going to go. This is a two-part process. First step is going to be about sitting with yourself, and second part is going to be about journaling. So I just talked about the importance and power of sitting with ourselves in listening to this inner dialogue. The second part is about journaling. This is where we give that inner dialogue a voice. This is where we give it a channel. This is how we start to get through that outer rock and into that inner beautiful crystal. We first have to get this stuff out. So when I first was encouraged to journal, I was very overwhelmed. And I don't know if any of you are thinking this, but I used to think that journaling had to look a certain way. I thought that perhaps it needed to be like this linear, beautiful writing, and I was completely overwhelmed. It does not need to be that. This is literally a word dump. There are times when I will literally wake up to do this process of sitting and then journaling, and I'll have a song stuck in my head. I will literally write out the lyrics of the song. There are times when I will wake up, I'll sit with myself. The inner dialogue is very much about all the to-do tasks that I have for the day. I'll write those. This is about getting them out, because as we get them out, as we channel them, as we give them a voice, again, that is what gets us to our inner core, our inner clarity, and our internal anchor. Think about it this way. Have you ever felt stressed and overwhelmed and like you just needed to talk some stuff out? So you grab a girlfriend, you go for a walk, you get a coffee, and you just bleh. You like what I call verbally process or word vomit. So often at the end of your meetup, we feel better. We feel lighter. We feel more clear. We probably walk away with a little bit more of the answers to what we need to do in this situation. And sometimes that might be because our girlfriend had some beautiful sage advice to give to us. But so often, think back, what actually happened? Our girlfriends literally just created a space for us. They created space and they listened, and we verbally processed. We got through that outer rock and we got to the internal anchor where all the answers and clarity sit. So there's so much power in grabbing a girlfriend and walking through processes like this, like the verbal process, the grab your coffee, go for a walk, all the things. I highly encourage those partner ups. At the same time, what's so important is for you to have the ability to access this on your own. Can you imagine? Think about this. Think about the power of waking up in a scattered state. You know, you've had those mornings, we all have, where you wake up and you're just wondering, how am I going to get through this day? How am I going to get it all done? Can you imagine the power and how empowered you will feel knowing that you can shift that on your own in a matter of 20 minutes? That's exactly what you're going to have from this episode. You are going to have the ability to wake up in a certain state of overwhelm, scattered, overcommitted, and completely shift that for yourself in minutes. That's insane. And that's what you're getting in this episode. This process, this walkthrough, this morning ritual routine is something that I do no matter what. Traveling with family, I do it. Getting up for work, I do it. Kids home from school, I get up early, I do it. On vacation, I do it. This is how we start our day with a sense of control. When we start our day with a sense of control and we create that internal anchor, we can access it more easily later. This is going to make us more likely to end our day with a sense of control. And when we stack this multiple days in a row, like you're going to do in this challenge, you are going to start to get to the end of your week feeling more of a sense of control, the end of your month with a sense of control. Can you imagine getting to the end of your year? If you started this now, if you get to the end of your year with a sense of control over how your life went and how you chose proactively how you wanted things to look at the end of this year, that is how powerful this is. And it takes 21 days to change a habit. We are going to shift our morning habit into this internal anchor groundedness in a 31-day challenge just to make sure we lock it in and we have a little bit of room for anything that interferes with a day here or there. Okay, so now we've talked about why your life could be feeling the way it's been feeling with the lack of sense of control. We've talked about internal anchors and how and why they're important. We've talked about leveraging this time so that you don't think it's selfish. You realize it's actually about being self with, and this is going to positively impact everyone around you. I've given you an overview on this entire process, and now I want to actually walk you through exactly what it's going to look like. Here's what you're going to do. At the end of this episode, you are going to click on the resource below, the Self With Challenge. What's going to happen is you're going to enter all of your information. Make sure you keep an eye on your spam. You're going to get an email confirming your interest in the challenge. Once you confirm your interest, each day you will get an email laying out the directions for the next morning. The reason I send it to you on the day before is I want you ideally to actually be able to print this out, or if you have to screenshot it. The goal is for you to wake up and not go on emails and ideally not go on your phone. What I want you to do is, leading up to getting these emails, I want you to start to think about two things. I want you to think about where you're going to sit. You're going to create a very ambient setting for yourself. I've got mine that you can look at and replicate. This is all about creating a space that feels really calm, relaxing. I'm big on lighting. I'm big on creating a space that, instead of blue light or white light, which completely pulls us into a different brainwave frequency that's basically stress mode and go mode and to do mode, we're going to sit in some beautiful red, orange, amber light. I'll have all my favorite resources for light linked below. Also, pick a spot to sit. I happen to love to sit on my higher dose PEMF grounding mat. This is such a great way for me to just ease into the day, stay connected with myself, and sit for these 10 minutes and get some really good insight. So I've got resources for that for you. You can also just simply sit on the floor. The second thing I want you to do is I want you to pick out a journal. Really take your time with this and find a journal that speaks to you. This is going to be your spot for writing down and channeling this inner dialogue. What's going to happen is, as you start to write in your journal, you may very well start to see patterns. Quick story: when I started journaling, and on the days when I would journal, when I woke up just feeling stressed and needed to just like give my inner dialogue a place to sit, and basically just journaled about all that I was feeling, right? Like overwhelm and all the things, I started to notice patterns in my writing. I would write things like, I feel pinned down. I feel pushed against a wall. I feel held down. I don't feel safe. What I started to realize is there was this pattern of unresolved trauma from something that I had experienced in my life that I needed to then seek out people to help me work through. Journaling is so powerful in figuring out patterns in our life that continue to show up for us, especially when we default to stress. So again, find a journal that really resonates with you. If you feel called to it, maybe get one that has a lock on it so that this can just be your private place where you feel safe writing anything that comes to you. In your email, you are going to get two things. You're going to get a reminder of why it's important to sit with yourself. And each day in this 31-day challenge, there's going to be a different reminder, often linking to like a neurological perspective of why this is important, why it's important to spend time in these brainwaves, how powerful this can be when you stack it and continue to do it. You're also going to get a journal prompt so that if you don't feel like you've got certain things that you want to write down, I'm going to have a question in there for you to get yourself going, and you can simply answer that question. I have made this so simple and easy for you, and it's so powerful. So now I want to ask you a question. Why wouldn't you do this? It's 31 days. You're going to do it with us in a community. We've got you. It's 20 minutes of your time. You're going to have a beautiful spot to hang out in. You're going to create that ambient spot for yourself in the morning. That alone will shift your life, will shift your day, will shift your week, will shift your year. You know, sometimes the feedback that I hear from women is they're scared. Maybe they're scared they're going to fail. Maybe they're afraid they're not going to do it right. And weirdly enough, this is a really common one. So many women are actually afraid of what good can come. We have so identified with our suffering and these old patterns that it can actually feel scary if we're going to pop through that ceiling and break through them. You're not alone in that feeling. I get it. We're here for you. I want to say something to you that I say to our kids often. Be afraid and do it anyway. Think about where your life currently is. How are you feeling when you wake up? How are you feeling about how you greet your day? How do you feel about your day? How do you feel about your life? Is this something you want to continue to feel? How do you feel at the end of your day? How are you showing up when you walk in the door to your family or just for yourself? How are you showing up at work? Are you happy with how that is? Chances are, if you're watching this episode, you're ready for a change. So again, I encourage you, be afraid and do it anyway. You are so worth it. Everyone around you will thank you for this. And maybe it doesn't resonate with you that it's your time, but if that's the case, I want to tell you it's your turn to take care of yourself. Oh, so powerful. I'm so excited to walk through this process with you. It has literally changed my and my family's life. You're going to be blown away at what happens for you. And I'm so glad you're here. Let's do this challenge together and watch the ripple effect that we can create by tuning back into ourselves as women, by getting self-with, creating these internal anchors, showing up with more of a sense of control, connection, ease, and balance, and influencing everyone in our lives because of it. I can't wait to see you there. I know this message resonated with you, and I want to hear all the things in the comment section. I want to hear what you loved, what you're excited to try. I want to hear any feedback. I also would love, if you enjoyed this video, to throw a like under it. And then I know you thought of another woman in your life that is feeling disconnected, is feeling overwhelmed, is feeling scattered. Go ahead and click that share button and share this with her right now. Not only are you going to give her the resources that she needs and deserves, but why not create an accountability partner and do this together so that when you meet for your coffee or you meet for your walk, you can talk about this and you can hold each other accountable. This is so powerful to do in a pair, so I highly encourage you. Think of that friend, click the share button, send it her way. Lastly, make sure you subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss any future episodes where I continue to share these incredibly simple and free resources to help you continue to create a deeper connection with yourself. I'll see you next time.